So, I'm pretty much in awe of visual artists. It's something that I wish would go from my eyes to my head to my fingers so that I could create in that way. But that is not how I create. I was particularly taken with, it's Saya. I feel like I've been saying C, so perhaps I've been saying their name wrong. But I was particularly taken with their art and with their willingness and openness to be vulnerable, to show something deeper in themselves through a self-portrait. When I first received the piece of art, it felt sacred, and this project feels sacred. So the title of the art piece is Remembering, and that became a bit of a theme in what I wrote, because I think remembering is also a beginning in a lot of ways. So I'll read Weariness and Opportunity, 2020. 3 pine cones kicked to the curb form 2 eyes and a wry smile as I walk in survival silence. The corners of my lips almost curl, but not quite, at this unexpected find, icon of happiness. I'm alone, maskless, wordless, not quite hopeless. In the quiet, I hear hearts cracking all over the world, like Antarctic ice shelf breaks, calving new icebergs, singing songs of becoming less, becoming more. This is called Poinsettia. Gifted wildly, assertive red on modified leaves, misperceived as flowers, mostly. True blooms tucked in the centers, not considered, mostly. Look closer. Tossed at season's end, abandoned when color fades and foliage falls. Saved, it is muted greens that toil in growing light, doing the work of beginnings. And the last poem is called Mixed Media. I am certain it is only the world that is uncertain as it mutes nuance in the overshadow of hard lines, debate and righteous God speak, interpretation absolute, methodical, systemic, parsing all into us and them. We are born whole and haloed, then unraveled from there, as though life is a cat, claws extended, teeth eager, chewing and batting us about, balls of yarn undone. It is work to gather ourselves again, winding who we are into sense and substance until we are certain, and it is only the world that is uncertain. Thank you.
I'm grateful Has Anne come? No. So the next reader is Lona Kingsbury, and she responded to a poem by Carmine. And,
Carmine, B, 33 years old, cancer, neurodivergent weirdo, lover of cats, pineapple, and Angela Davis. They appreciate their family, friends, and therapists. They wouldn't be here without the care, support, and love from all of them. And Carmine's parents are here today. Carmine could not be here, but Carmine's parents.
And the poet who responded to Carmine is Lona. And Lona has long been a student of juxtaposition, contrast, comparison, and placement. Her lifelong pursuit of truth through visual art, stagecraft, and poetry explores the effect of connection through each personal offering. One of her most memorable connections can now be seen on video, Yearning to Breathe Free, on HummingWorld.com, where Kathleen Schandelmeyer Bartels offers a platform for Chicago migrants to share their truth. Lona's poem, I Am Migrant, was originally inspired and penned for the I Am Migrant project of Chicago artist Miroslav Rugala. Thank you, Lona.
I'm in awe as well, and I love the bio that I never. I just had the beautiful block. To me, it reminded me so much of just block paintings. Remember when we were kids and we used to just take our potatoes or whatever we had, our carved things, and make something out. Mine was never chosen, but this kind of put me in that mood. But I love the fact that I know something about Carmine now. So I thought, well, I know nothing about them. I'm just going to look at this painting and feel. And so this is what I came up with. I kind of like it. Block pattern. To chip and cut each block stock, directives break away. Remove, take, shade, gray. Bright thoughts of students, yet betrayed. Carefully, instructors bray, as we carve great lumps engaged. Potato, apple, fibrous blanks. Originally resistance, molding each, they train. Each tiny set of hands. Each brain, touts leaders, will be trained. The eager wards attack their slates, and chosen few will somehow show some semblance of conformity over those assailed. By questions, doubts, stark images, mirroring their group, reversed, inverted, juxtaposed, too young to know such terms exist, but old enough to feel their truth. And pray their shapes will form, display, adhesion as their proof, while inwardly the blunted soul rebuffs such pristine, flawless plots, negates each stripe to preassign, distinctiveness confined. Yet by rote they emulate, tendered patterns, charting ways, striking hard at curvatures, confronted every day. And this is my second one. Inside out, the vision. Inside out, outside in, gray on black is posed, disposed to coloration, objectified, unknown. That deduces who from how and when, why and what we know, betwixt between each rendering, quartering the whole. Surrendered up as offered proof, unveilingly we seek. Strikingly, the eyes entreat, are us and them, not we. Thank you.
The next is Karen Arnett, who has responded to Christopher Andrew Nick's self-portrait.
Christopher Nix is a small-town father and husband from Henderson, Kentucky. His best friend Ace was a huge inspiration, as is his wife and forever loved Elizabeth.
And Karen Arnett enjoys creative self-expression through writing, playing music, planting trees, and co-gardening with nature. Apart from that, she hugs her friends and pets, her dog and cats, and tries to be grateful every day for this life.
Hi. I was excited to get to participate in this project, and it seemed like it was the self-portrait of Christopher was perfect because I have just always felt like trans people are so courageous, and I wanted to participate out of an interest in being affirming and supportive, and so my first bit was just a bit of prose. Imagine, there was a time when you were held protected in the safe womb and had no gender. Bipotential, the scientists call it. You were neither boy nor girl, and you were loved. 7 weeks of free-floating potential as your cells divided and multiplied, tethered to the umbilical of love. The world around you loved the idea of you, whoever you might become. The legislators passed laws to protect you, genderless being that you were. The point is, you were loved, unseen and unmet. The world around you celebrated your life. Reflections. To be complete is to need nothing outside oneself. Everything is here within. The cells that multiplied from that initial one to a vast multitude, a collective whole. It was all there at the start in the floating potential. Out of that multitude, I am. Not a single monolith, nor a simple set of divisible parts, like the medieval perfection of the Trinity, nor binary like a star and its lesser partner, held together by strong forces, but from many, one, complete. To be whole, one, indivisible, and yet complex. A diamond valued for its many facets, each reflecting one aspect of truth. The gemstone guides the jeweler's hand, shows where to cut and shape. Here is what I am. I emerge sparkling with an inner light. What is being revealed was here all along. And I have to admit that I had sort of forgotten that Christopher's pronouns were he, him, and I was thinking they and them and all of the multiplicity that sort of implies, the resonance of that pronoun. Superhero. What was the tipping point? What urgent call at inconvenient time broke them free from Clark Kent's street clothes? What strength to overcome the krypton of self-doubt, of society's denial of their truth? Now, after all the years in disguise, no one the wiser to what lay below. The costumes shed, the rescue, he, she, they, saving themselves, their own one precious life, the life that contains multitudes, the voice that could no longer pretend. If we want to know what courage looks like, here, see the body become itself anew.
The next poet is Nancy L'Aquila, and Nancy responded to the self-portrait of Ari Pittman, who is not here.
Ari has been a creative person since childhood, starting with crafts from cross-stitch to basket weaving, led to a love of art, including photography and printmaking. He's currently working to help share the therapeutic qualities that creating art can provide to LGBTQ plus people in need.
And Nancy D'Aquila is the first generation Italian who retired recently as a project manager and who practiced as a registered nurse in her youth. You're still young. Nancy is happily married since June 1980 and has 2 children. She resides in Newport, Kentucky, and enjoys writing, walking, and being outdoors. Thanks.
Thank you. The first poem I wrote was in direct response to the portrait. The second one was one that I had written as a youth and through Pauletta's class had made some revisions to it. What struck me is the fact that Ari had no support system, yet his eye comes through, his vision, his intelligence, his ability to see colors, and to transgress life without no support system. That's what struck me the most in the first poem. So the first one, my pronouns, he/him. Swathed in blood-stained amniotic fluid, your encrusted head, your newborn smell, your flailing limbs survived on their own. Your eyes saw the truth in a world of lies, saw your beauty over hatred, security over danger, wisdom over stupidity, and saw light over darkness. Your body became a sanctuary, your hair an extension of your innermost self. Your soul and spirit stayed genuine. Your self-esteem grew unnurtured. Your mind moved you forward. Out of the depths of isolation, you bring the promise of color and images, turning sorrow to joy, depression to connection, despair to hope, and hate to love. The next one is refraction of a prison hanging in the window. One tiny segment of the prism upheld itself to you, sprayed dust on your cleanliness, found warmth in your color. One mingled particle scanted your thoughts, trace by trace, feeling false and frightened, and false, for when the curtain crowded around the pane, it was gone.
Thank you, Nancy. The next poet is Jerry Judge, who's really been a strong supporter of all the poetry activities here in Cincinnati. Thank you, Jerry. And Jerry responded to the self-portrait of Raya, and we're very lucky to have Raya here today. So I think Jerry will introduce Raya, and Raya, after that, if you don't mind, speaking a little bit about your experience doing the portrait and so on.
Rhea is a trans woman who at 58 is finally letting her creative light shine, for her life has proven dramatically better out of the box. The Inside Out project has been her first bit of visual art, but since transition, she has also earned a degree in AV production, joined the amazing Fluidity Chorus, started voice lessons, and most recently started with a pipe and drum band. Rhea is planning a future filled with music with her partner.
Thanks, Jay. And thanks, Jay, for setting this up. I am not by any stretch a trained artist, and it was a little bit intimidating. Jay made us feel very comfortable and got us started, gave us a real quick tutorial on how to do a piece of art. I did abstract because everybody else, I just felt comfortable with that. Turns out everybody else did something more realistic, but hey, mine's abstract. It was pretty literal on my life. Sludge Pup was a nickname I had. Barney Depresso was another one. And now life is very much better. Ray of Light really does fit. It's pretty awesome. I meet the greatest people now. Life has opened up and it's just flipping awesome. And since school, I got hired on by a film crew. And now I'm in the art department. Not a place I would have expected myself to ever end up. But it's pretty amazing. I'm actually on a set now where it's a film about a trans woman. And actually, I might work on clearance for some of this art may appear in the background. So thank you all. And thank you, Jerry. Your words fit so well. You had a couple lines in there. I'm like, how did he know this?
Jerry is a retired social worker living spending out his days working with cats and dogs, and they love him, at no caring shelters, and attempting to write the perfect poem, or at least some damn good ones. They're all good, actually.
Thank you, sir.
Isn't it great being together in person? Yes. For me, this is the first time it's not Zoom, since the pandemic, so it just feels so great being with real people again, especially poets and artists. And what's special for me too right now is Ray is here. I got to meet her today, and this is so cool. And one thing we weren't privy to when we got the poems and that was the updated statement about the artist. So when I got that, it was so great to hear what all Ray is doing with her life and how things are going for her. And you just heard, her saying all that. And that was so cool to hear that. But anyway, when I was looking at Ray's artist statement and portrait, I had a mixture of feelings. I mean, I felt sad and angry, but yet I felt very positive and happy for her too, the way it was presented. And the sad and anger was she had mentioned Buckenmeyer, very negative nickname, and being stuck in a box, in effect. And that made me feel real sad for her and real angry at society. We put so many people like that, into such boxes. But on the other hand, as you're reading through, she goes, ray of light springs from the Buckenmeyer. She didn't just get out of it, she sprung from it. I mean, she just got the hell out of there. And she blew that box up. So I thought, God damn, that is cool. I like that. This person is really, really in there doing it now. And so when I started writing my poem, I wanted to go with that positivity that she was expressing and the joy in life that she apparently was feeling now and that. And so that's pretty much where I started the poem from. And this is called Reach. Think in ways you've never thought before. If there's a knock on the door, it may be your father come to complete a song, richer now in scope, broadened by death. The bat in the attic may be your first cat, given wings of an angel and wanting still to be near. Perhaps your heart during sleep steps out to touch hearts in other dimensions. Next time you're in the Blue Ridge Mountains, reach for the door that exists not just in fantasy, myth, or legend. Once imagined, fairies, elves, dragons become as real as us in God's dream. Thank you. I think I'm just going to go with one more.
Thank you, Jerry. Is Holly Brian's here? So the next poet is Mike Olson, and Mike responded to Milo's self-portrait.
Milo is not able to be here today. Milo is from Dayton. Could not be here today, and I don't have a bio for Milo, so we'll let the work speak for itself.
Yeah, that's a self-portrait. And Michael is a retired business executive from the Cincinnati area. He studied writing and literature at the University of Arizona, and his poems have been published in numerous anthologies. Thank you.
Thanks. I'd like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to read Milo's statement because I think it's important to the poem, and it fits with the image that he drew as well, very well. One of the most challenging parts of being non-binary for me has been finding a sense of being at home in my body. There are moments of dysphoria that make me want to jump out of my skin, ecstatic and often fleeting moments of euphoria when I feel affirmed, grounded and embodied, and all the gray area moments in between when I'm not sure how I feel in my body. Those gray area moments are where I tend to live more often than not. I've had to find a way to get comfortable there. I've come to appreciate that now a non-binary body and identity are strange houses to live in that also give me lots of unfinished space to create my own sense of home in this body and in this world. And those words really inspired me to write what I wrote. I hope I did his words justice because his words are very insightful and poetic in and of themselves. And I wrote 2 poems. I have a little bit to say about the second one before I do this one. This one's called Strange Houses, based mainly on Milo wrote. I wander a road of painted houses to find the one more perfect than. I tell myself there is one out there where I would be more happy than. But I see black houses wanting to be seen, white houses pretending to reflect the sun. I see shuttered houses jonesing for their fix of light, and houses strangled by their nature, waiting for a gentle gardener. None alike, but all perfect in their imperfection. Some things missing, some things masked. Strange houses sheltering many strangers, but they are not the ones more perfect than. All these houses painted to hide their true brick, and in their midst, my house. Unfinished, not unlike the others, a gray house waiting to be lived in, not needing color from an imperfect world. My gray house, trying to tell me, you're home. You could be happy here. There could be none more beautiful. There could be none more perfect than. The second poem is what I had written before I saw Milo's words. But I thought it kind of fit the experience that all of us are really having, trying to discover ourselves and understand where we fit in this world. And this is called Distant Things. One of the things I should tell you about this is it talks about true names. And in Egyptian and Sumerian theology, a true name is something that gives you power over it. So if you know the true name of fire, you have the power of fire. You also see this in a lot of fantasy fiction in today's world. Distant things. All my life, I've tried to learn the names of distant things. Of frightened hours past the darkness, hours yet to be born, innocent hours left unlived, a fetal light waiting past the horizon, light yet to be born, the shine of loves yet to breathe, of fields of yellow yet to come into focus as the wildflower they want to be, of songs just beyond the singing, songs that lay fallow without their orchestral rain. I've tried to learn the names of these things and others as if I were to gain wisdom in the knowing, and the knowing would bring them close. I've tried to learn their names, true names, not the man-given names, but names given by themselves or their world. What does the flower call another flower, whose sole purpose is beauty? Or the shy hours call tomorrow, whose sole purpose to be unknown? And what would I be called if others had not named me? I have been man, been woman, been both, and neither. But what really? What purpose and what worth? What would I name myself? What would a blind world name me? My true name hidden between my doubt, its ignorance, yet another distant thing to want to hold. Thank you.
Our next poet is Chris Gutierrez, and Chris responded to Emily Wheeler's poem. Emily is not with us.
Emily is out of town this week, could not make it. But Emily's bio says, on February 10th, 2019, Emily Wheeler was on vacation with her brother and his son. As she laid in the hotel bed fighting sleep, fighting herself, she was begging the Lord for peace. That night, she simply heard a voice that said, "Get up, go be." She has been 2 years now living as her true, authentic self. While there have been some struggles, she can, without a doubt, say that she is finally living a life worth living. Being Emily is definitely the best decision she has ever made.
Chris Gutierrez has been involved in classes at Human Writing for a Change, and Chris is interested in poetry.
Well, first I'm sorry that Emily couldn't be here so I could meet her. But what I was struck with in this portrait is just the brightness of the colors that she used. And I'm going to read what I had of her bio, which is a lot shorter. I love myself and my dog Aria, my little sweet furry friend and the love of my life. I'm a beautiful trans woman who needs to take more time to love myself and just have fun. And I looked up the definition of Aria, and its origins are Thai, and it means beloved, which I thought was really important. So the title of my poem is Aria. You are wearing pink in your self-portrait, not a color to hide in. Both you and your dog, Aria, are smiling. Not subtle smiles like Mona Lisa, but big toothy smiles and Aria with her tongue out. I can only imagine what it might be like to become the sex that you already are. You wanted to be Ariel, not Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid. Your parents wanted you to act like a boy, so they got you involved in sports. Lousy at baseball, teammates said you threw like a girl. You wondered why you were different from your siblings and classmates. Because of your Adam's apple and 5 o'clock shadow, people may know that you're a trans woman. You're afraid of prejudice and hate. Being who you are outweighs the risks. The dog Aria saw everything. Aria stretches out on the floor, rolls, scratching her back. She knows nothing about human gender. For Aria, you have always been Emily. And this is not something I wrote for this project, but I just thought it would be something to read. So it's a blessing. In the dark, may there be light, a candle to light the way, touch the match to the wick. In the light, may there be courage, may there be love, for all you create, for all that you dream, for all that you are.
Thank you, Chris. The next poet is Elena Estella Green, and Elena responded to the poem, to the self-portrait by Ini Mini Mori.
Moni is not here. Moni resides in Chicago, Illinois. Moni is a queer, autistic body and energy worker from Chicago. They are a flow artist, a fire spinner, and perpetual learner. Their goal is to empower others with kindness, love, and understanding.
And Elena is a poet from New York City, now living in Cincinnati. She had several poems published in various journals and was selected twice for Poetry of the Month by the Cincinnati Public Library. Elena is an active participant of Human Writing for a Change, based in Silverton, Ohio, and on Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you, Sada and Jay. New York in the house! I always wanted to say that. Someone just a few minutes, when we were mingling, came up to me and said, "Are you the organizer?" I said, "No, I'm just a loud New Yorker." But let's see. I felt blessed and lucky to receive this artist's work. I love writing about mythic things, and I found this horse self-portrait very mythic, you know, and I've always been an ally for LGBTQ+, and I met some trans people when I was a teenage runaway in New York City, and they took care of me. I was like their little doll. They dressed me up and made me look almost like a drag queen, but it was fine. I loved it. Feather boas. It was the late 70s, 80s, so it was the disco era, and we used to go to ballroom. If you've seen the show Pose, it was kind of like that. and I was their little mascot. So, I just want to read the last line that Moni wrote in their statement. To put it simply, I am an alien sent here to love. I mean, who among us hasn't ever felt that way at some point, especially in your teenage years? So, and that name, that glorious name, Eenie, Meenie, Miny, Moni. I just loved it. I mean, I related to it. So I kind of approached this poem like a constellation, and it's called Set Among the Stars. Your eyes focused, your image set among the stars. Something so immortal has to be this colorful. A never-ending rainbow, a caterpillar shapes themselves into a broken line of infinity. The broken people, the ones that grow and learn from their pain, transform into undeniable beauty. They wear their heart on the outside for all to see. How does it feel to rival the most brilliant constellation, to be out and unafraid, no longer pleading for acceptance, but lovely for who you are? Many hide or try to pass, their stars dimmed by fear and violence. They, the unlucky ones, we want to help. Unfurl your wings, an archetype for the ages, a beacon for others to be fully themselves. Free to love in a world so often closed and suspicious of the differences that make them butterfly and brave, willing to cover hatred with a gossamer of love.
Thank you, Elena. The next poem is Karen George. And Karen responded to the self-portrait of Ashton Michael Lee. Ashton is not with us today, but he will be here in 2 weeks, on Saturday the 26th, because he's going to be serving on the panel that we'll be having, and he's going to speak about his experience. If you can come in 2 weeks to listen to the panel and to the poetry, it would be great. And also there will be, Laura is preparing a fantastic after session a party for all of us to participate, enjoy, sing, dance, and read poetry.
Ashton is from Dayton, Ohio, and Ashton really wanted to be here today and is out of town this weekend also. Ashton Michael Lee is a poet, storyteller, and content creator residing in Dayton, Ohio. Ashton created a healing tool called the Student of Life to teach folks ways to think independently. It targets critical life lessons through a power of thought in storytelling.
Karen George is author of 5 chapbooks and 2 poetry collections from Das Madre Press, Swing Your Way Back, 2014, and A Map and 1 Year, 2018. Her work has appeared in Adirondack Review, Valparaiso Poetry Review, the Ekphrastic Review, Salamander, and Swim. She reviews poetry at Poetry Matters, readwritepoetry.blogspot.com. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. And thanks for inviting us to work on this project. I was really honored and a little intimidated at first because I thought, what if I, get someone's self-portrait and I don't know how to, nothing comes to me, but that worked fine. His statement became with his painting. He says, this painting represents resurrection. This was the first time I took a picture and saw myself. I I saw who I've always known myself to be. And that was a really powerful statement for me. And so I didn't have any trouble, working on a poem. And I immediately thought of, I titled it Resurrection, a Self-Portrait. And I immediately thought of Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise. And so I had an epigraph in the beginning of the poem where I said her quote from her poem, "But still, like air, I'll rise." You wear vivid green, swaddled by soft moss color, fragrant juniper, sweet basil. Your skin the tint of richest earth from which all life swells. Your glass frames coral like the sea's diverse reef. Through these circles you see deeply. Your dark hair and light shirt, duality you embrace, one arm clasping the other. You are the phoenix, fabled, fabulous bird, devoured by flames. You rise, transform ashes into your whole, holy self.
Thank you, Karen. The next poet is Eileen Trout, and Eileen responded to Tay's self-portrait, and we're lucky to have Tay with us today. And Tay later, after she introduces you, if you don't mind, saying a little bit about doing your self-portrait.
Tay's bio reads, Tay is a 17-year-old non-binary person and an aspiring fashion designer. They love all kinds of art, particularly clothes making. They also enjoy music, witchcraft, anime, and video games. And I'm going to add to Tay's bio and proudly say I'm Tay's parent. Come on, Tay.
Very bad public speaking, but this piece was a part of my project for one of my for my portfolio in my AP class this year, and my project was based around kind of like a story about myself, and this was the first piece of the project, and they represent represents me basically, and I kind of just wanted to show the real me and not like the me that everybody else sees, me sitting in my messy room on my bed with my cat, how I just usually spend my days. But yeah, so this piece meant like a lot to me, and kind of just was the start of something that meant a lot to me as well. So yeah.
Eileen Trout is an author, inclusion advocate, and emeritus professor of information sciences and women's gender and sexuality studies at Pennsylvania State University. Her scholarly writing includes several books, numerous research articles, and one play. Her creative writing includes poetry, historical fiction, memoir, and screenwriting. Eileen lives in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Before I start, I wanted to read something from Tay's statement. Tay says, I used this card because it depicts how I was isolating myself from everyone and drowning in loneliness while not wanting to be around anybody. When I saw the self-portrait, and when I read what Tay said, I made an immediate connection to my younger self. And so I immediately thought about what it was like to be gay in the 1970s and the 1980s, where my self was fragmented. So there was the authentic self. I was fortunate to be able to be around my family and some of my friends. And then there was the other self that I wasn't able to be authentic with in my profession and with some of my friends. So I didn't write a new poem from this. I'm going to read something that I wrote many years ago. Marginal. I sit
on the sidelines, at the border, in the intersection, near the edges. I see others' visions, unbroken by my presence, untroubled by my protest, unaware of my angst. I view them vicariously, avoid problems, correct mistakes, clean up messes, do it right. I am seen by neither side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all the poets who read their poetry. Before we close, I know we have many self-portrait artists with us today who, their poets were not here, probably next week. And if you don't mind, so we would know you, because not everyone probably will come into Saturdays. If you don't mind coming, speaking about you, your experience, and your self-portrait, if you don't mind. Whatever you want, so we'll end up to know you. I know, Gold is here. Jacob, is Jacob still here? Jacob? He left. Okay. And I know that Emily is here, and also, no, there's, Ivy, is Ivy here? She was here earlier. Okay, well, if there's anyone else, please come. Go, do you want to start? Yeah, just, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Gold. I made this piece right here. It's a self-portrait of me as a clown. I always used to like those old clown, like sad clown portraits. I always thought they were super interesting. And I thought it kind of fit me as a person, so I wanted to do a portrait based on that. A lot of my work has a lot of pink in it, and surprisingly, I don't really wear pink all that often, but it's nice to use it in my artwork because I have the freedom to use it in a way that it won't impact how people look at me, I guess. So, but I love clown aesthetics. I love, their big noses and stuff, and I actually dressed up as a clown for Halloween, and it's just a really funny costume, and it's nice to sort of role play as this silly character. So, and as a trans person, sometimes people look at you not exactly like they're trying to laugh at you, but also they're uncomfortable with you. But I think a lot of people look at clowns that way too. So I thought it was appropriate for the project in hand. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ray, a few weeks ahead of time, said, I'm going to go do this art thing. You want to come with me? I said, sure. And then the day that it happened, she said, oh, what we're going to do, we're going to paint her a self-portrait. And then other people are going to look at this. And I first said, no. But I'm a math professor, and I'm always asking my students to do things that they find uncomfortable, that isn't their best thing. So I said, well, I'll put myself in that same spot, and I'll just go out and do the best I can and not worry about results. So it's like that. The other thing I wanted to say about it is, a lot of trans people talk about how they struggle with being trans all their lives. I didn't know I was trans until about 8 or 9 years ago. I had no idea. But what I did know is my life just didn't fit. I was very quiet. There's no way I would stand up in front of people like this and talk. I just couldn't have done it. And so when I came out as trans, not only does it I feel much better about myself, all these different psychological bars, I guess, and chains that held me down kind of broke open. Things I wouldn't have thought were even connected. So this is kind of to express that. The chains are broken, not just the one from gender, but a lot of others. and kind of bursting up into life, and all these things happen around you. You have these chances to do things you never would have thought you'd ever be able to do. Thanks to people like Jay and so many other people. So I want to thank the poets. I thought they did a wonderful job with some of the things that they pulled out of the pictures.
I don't know, are there any other self-artists here present? No. If not, we can open it. We still have half an hour. If any of you would like to come and share anything, about this afternoon, about your personal experience, about the poetry, we still have time to really build on our knowing each other and on our quote-unquote humanity. So that's really what it's all about. So it's open, whoever would like.
Do you want a song?
Sure, fantastic. Raya belongs to a group of singing, right? And yeah, why don't you?
So, like Amy, this is something I would never have dared do before. I've been very fortunate. I found a course that took me in while my voice is changing. I first came out when I was 14, and in my little Catholic parish, that was not going to go over. I was a runaway. I missed my sophomore year of high school because I ran away with a serial killer. I was 14, he was 25. It was kind of a sad place in life. So coming out, trying to transition then really did not work well. So I tried not to be trans for 40 years. One of the things that bothered me about trying to be guy was my voice. I just never felt that I qualified or that I fit, and I worked really hard to push my voice down into a very growly place where it would fit me. At about 50, I finally got it there. Shortly after I decided to transition and quit trying to be a guy. Just figures. Big Daddy Weave wrote a song. Faith has been really weird for me. They're a Christian, contemporary Christian artist. I tend to avoid a lot of that. But there was a song that Big Daddy Weave did that is almost autobiographical. Once I had queered it up a little bit. So I will try this, and I will try to remember it. I didn't really plan on singing today, but I shall try it. All my, oops, sorry. Started it out wrong, that's the wrong verse. Seemed like all I could see was the struggle, haunted by ghosts that lived in my past, bound up in shackles of all my failures, wondering how long this life could last. But then you saw this prisoner, you said to me, hon, stop fighting a fight that's already been won. I am redeemed. All my life I have been called unworthy, maimed by those voices of shame and regret. My failures, wondering how long this life should last. But then I heard you whisper, child, lift up your head, and And I remember, oh God, you're not done with me yet. And I am redeemed. You set me free. Because I don't have to be the old man I tried to be. Those days are long dead and gone. Because I have got a new name, a new life, I'm not the same. I've a hope that will carry me on. And I am redeemed. Thank God, redeemed.
We're very lucky to have join us right now Tyrone Williams. And Tyrone responded to Kara's self-portrait. How are you? Thank you. So if you just we want to introduce first your artist,
Okay.
and then we'll.
I don't have a bio for Kara, but she was here. Right there she is. Kara, do you want to come and say about your experience?
Sorry?
Do you want to come up and just tell us a little bit about your experience with creating your self-portrait, or anything you'd like to say about that?
Sure. Well, so my experience from this was kind of revisiting something from early on. There is a graffiti park open to all where I was living when I was coming out, and so this was kind of redrawing part of that graffiti, and years later, so I think it was kind of nice to come back to that. It's kind of for me the past that kind of like helped me exist, working, basically studying, living, and then the part of me that I want to be, expressing myself and finding others. Yeah.
Tyrone Williams teaches at Xavier University and is the author of several books of poetry. Most recently, as is with a Z instead of an S, in 2018. Tyrone, would you mind reading from the podium just, we're videotaping?
What? Use mic or?
No, just.
Okay.
Just,
Name, ETA. Long the unpronounced syllable, the underlining of a normal word, marching in the blank verse of other stories. I go bold, unclench my letters, utter me, free, version back to back, with the person and the personal pronoun I was meant to place in the stead of the name I am still giving myself.
Thank you. For those of you who will not be coming next 2 weeks, I think it's really important that you get to meet in person Jay, and that he shares with you his story.
First, thank you all. I'm kind of emotional. My heart is so full. Thank you so much. The poems are beautiful, and it's all the people, all the artists, Maria, your song is like, thank you so much for sharing it with us. My portrait, I did a portrait for this too. I actually did two. I didn't like the first one because I'm a perfectionist like that. So like Ray and Amy, I came to this later in life, so I've had the benefit and what I see now is the gift of living two lives. Two very, very different lives, thankfully. But, and also just enjoying everything that has opened up to that, and especially this opportunity. So thank you, Saad, for putting this together and collaborating with me on this project, and for everybody who came out and participated or just came out to support. So my friends who just showed up because they love me. Anyway, thank you all. Anybody else has anything to say, close it, and feel free to come back in 2 weeks. So we'll have a panel discussion and we'll hear some more poetry, some different poets and different pieces. So thank you all.